Warrior nuns, BDSM fanatics, a huge dragon you have to fight, another huge dragon you have to fight. Is that Casca? All my fellow edgelords, let's rise and unite. We can cosplay as Guts. Seriously, where has this masterpiece of a game been all my life? This game is literally everything you want, and hopefully this insanely detailed review removes your worries and convinces you to buy it. First, let's start off with the story, which is pretty confusing. You will find yourself more confused than Zoro when it comes with directions. But to avoid spoilers, I'm keeping it short. The game starts you off in a apocalyptic setting, and all the game tells you is you have to make way to this dragon. Somehow, some way, you touch this stone and essentially a pawn gets isekai'd into your world. But we will elaborate on this much further. You fight your way through angry hobgoblins who's probably only there because this is the only way to pay their child support. I mean, who knows, maybe inflation is rampant in this game, just like in real life. You then eventually make your way to this chimera thing, which frankly looks like a damn sleep paralysis demon. But you eventually beat it because we have the most overpowered power in all of fiction. And it's called the power of friendship. With power of friendship, you can beat anything in this game. Well, sometimes not. Anyways, you didn't make it to the dragon and then it ends on a cliffhanger. Some time passes by and it highlights the dragon with his massive, intimidating nin ready to wreak havoc on the world. It then takes it to your point of view in recent time. You just got off work, maybe you were shoveling hay with your kids, having a good old time. You didn't take a breather, and then you look to the sky and holy shit, is that a dragon? But this dragon don't scare you at all. You have been watching way too many Red Pill Andrew Tate videos. You are indeed in fact the biggest alpha in the room. Oh wait, damn. Anyway, the dragon leaves you on 1 HP and takes your heart. But that's all I'm going to say about the story. There's plenty of other videos that can explain it very good. Moving on to the character creation aspect, in which I think is pretty funny. You can make the most craziest player build, which makes you have the most craziest proportions, even looking like a One Piece character if you really want to. But you kind of got to take this somewhat serious, because in a way, this kind of matters. Depending on what weight you make your character depends on how much he can carry. So if you make him as big as Mrs. Puff, he could probably carry the holes in Noah's Ark, but also have less stamina than a Discord mod. Me personally, I went with the balanced character. Not super tall, not super big. I personally think there's more pros to being big because you can carry more curatives, which is basically like potions that aid you in combat. But trust me, you will definitely need a lot of curative. Throughout this game, we'll be facing chimera snakes to rooster hybrid looking things that can turn you to stone to evil man-eating eyeballs that can turn you blind. When it comes to getting potions, this lady will become your best friend for a good while, so you might as well even marry her. But anyways, let's move back to the character creation. Or you can make your character small and be so light a harpy can easily lift you off the ground, and even in the worst cases, drop you down and kill you. But hey, there's also a pretty big pro to being small. You are super fast. I just wish you were able to have time traveling speed so you can tell them not to release that terrible Velma show. But that's besides the point. Being this fast will definitely come in handy because in this game there is no mount. So I am not going to lie to you. A good chunk of this game will feel like a running simulator. By the time you finish with the game, your character calf muscles are probably so strong he could probably jump to the moon and get it back from Victor. But one thing you must promise me you won't do as a new player, and that is please, for your mental health and anything that's holy, don't venture out during nighttime. The type of things you will see will feel like a massive fever dream. But fear not, my brethren, for I got the key that can reduce this mess. Fairy stones and port stones. Essentially what these are is you use them to teleport. You can place down a port stone and use a fairy stone to teleport to that port stone. Fairy stones can be found in chests and you buy it from the black market. Port stones are found at select locations around the map, which you can also have the black marketer forge it, but it's quite costly, around 200k gold. Wait, holy hell, it's 300k now? Inflation has gotten real crazy. There are permanent port crystals that you can get for free, like the one in Grand Soren by the Pawn Guild and the one at Cassardis. I think I said that's how you say it. I want you guys to close your eyes and picture this, and this might actually be your situation. You've been working your ass off for a job promotion, then they choose a guy that does the absolute bare minimum. Now you are stressed. I wonder what could relieve that stress. I got the solution for it. It's Dragon's Dogma's combat. The combat is an instantly 10 out of 10. Not many games come close. It gets even better when you pretend you're a goblin hunter. Remember, the only good goblin is a dead goblin. I can kill the same low level enemies again and again and still find a sense of enjoyment. Hey, you ever wanted to basically be a mosquito just for the sole purpose of annoying people you hate? Well, this is exactly what the grab mechanic is for bosses. And let me tell you, they absolutely hate this. They will try every measure to get you off. But all jokes aside, this comes in real handy against certain bosses. But others, not so much. These demons could watch Blood Origins to the end and still not go insane. To understand combat even more, I am going to have to explain vocations, which is essentially classes. When a game starts you off, you have the choices of 3 classes: Fighter, Mage, and Strider. If you chose Fighter, it's pretty simple. They use a sword and shield to fight. Pick this, you are probably the type of guy to go to a restaurant and just ask for chicken tenders every time with ketchup. It's very basic, but you can never go wrong with it. How do I know this? Because I am people. The Fighter, just like other classes, get a set of abilities, such as sword attacks and shield attacks. But just because I said Fighter is basic, don't let that fool you. Holy hell, his abilities are overpowered. Let's start with the first one, called Dragon's Maw. Jesus, oh my God, with this ability, you quite literally will develop a god complex. No mere mortal will dare try to step to you. But as you may know, you don't start off with these overpowered abilities. But Devoid, how do you get them? Well, introducing vocation rank. There are 9 vocation ranks, and each time you rank up, you acquire new skills and perks for you to unlock. But in order to buy them, you need something called discipline points. No, not that type of discipline. Discipline points are gained based on the amount of experience earned from a kill or quests. You can use them for buying a new vocation or using them to buy skills for your character, which leads me on to core skills and augments. Core skills is things your character can learn. For example, when you are jumping off somewhere high, there's a skill called controlled fall that will make you roll to lower the damage. Wait, hold on, that's not supposed to happen. I'm supposed to roll. Let's try this again. Now, as I was saying, with controlled fall, when falling from high falls, your character will roll like this. What?
Loser! You're a loser! Are you feeling sorry for yourself?
Okay, after doing research, it turns out that controlled fall is the most misleading ability ever. Instead, I will show you one of the mage's core skill. It's called levitate. This is pretty useful actually because you can get to areas you normally could not get to. Now let's move on to your biggest lifesavers, and that is augments, which are perks you can learn. Vigilance, for example, gives you added health, but don't be fooled. Even with this health increase, you are not even a fraction close to a Nokia BlackBerry HP. Those things will never break. Clout is a strength perk that increases your strength. Nothing can challenge you. Be proud to have this perk, because you are the mightiest of men. You serve under Captain Irwin. Not even death itself can even stand your intimidating aura. Yeah, I've been watching too much David Goggins. Endurance is a perk that can increase your stamina. Yeah, that's it. I can't think of nothing else funny to say. Oh yeah, I got you. You will be able to outrun those people in the mall that's always trying to sell you cologne. We all know how persistent those guys are. So this is a very beneficial perk. Now, there are also some circumstantial perks, but I am only going to name the ones that I personally use. But there's plenty more in the game, such as Sanctuary, which improves your defense and magic defense, but only when you are closer to death. I just wish we had this in real life, because stubbing your pinky toe in the bed definitely leaves you near death's door. Or Bloodlust, which is a very intimidating name. The fact that you chose this, you must be a serious menace of a person. Just smile one time, man. Please, please. But anyways, essentially what Bloodlust does, it increases your strength and mitigates damage taken, but only at nighttime. So if you mix Sanctuary and Bloodlust, you get the ultimate duo. And the next circumstantial perk is Entrancement, which increases your stamina, but only at nighttime. So if you mix Endurance and Entrancement, you also get the ultimate duo. There's also things called secret augments, which is more so towards endgame, which is a difficult struggle my mental could not have prepared for me, even if I tried. Now that's out the way, I can go over the basic vocations and their complexity. If you didn't know, red vocations are melee vocations, yellow vocations are range vocations, and the color blue is for magic users. But they all have upsides and downsides. For example, fighters have really good defensive capabilities and good physical damage output, but they lack ranged attacks and also have weaker resistance to magic. To top it off, their armor are more heavier than other vocations, so they move a little slower. They are not able to double jump or have the luxury of having the awesome ability to float like mages have. No. Red vocations just jump. Striders is a mix of all trades. They can do it all, from shooting enemies from afar to getting up close and personal, whilst moving faster than when you get a "I'm home alone" text from your girlfriend. Mages are for people who don't always want to be up close and personal and just want to support their teammates. They can heal others, with their stamina, defense, and offensive output is the lowest of all vocations. And interestingly enough, this is the second most hated vocation in the game, according to a lot of polls I've seen throughout the internet. We will get into the most hated soon. Now moving on to the advanced vocations, which, if you haven't guessed, there are advanced variations of the basic vocations. But just to make something clear, just because I am saying they are advanced doesn't mean they are automatically better than the basic vocations. These advanced vocations have more offensive capabilities and have access to different weapons. Warriors don't use a sword, instead they use a larger two-handed weapon. To damage their foes, they have wide swings and they also thrust the blade into their foes. They have by far the strongest attack. They also have greatly increased resistance to staggering blows and knockdown compared to any other class in the game. Now, I am sure you have seen the montages and see how incredibly strong this class is, but the truth is, this is a very skill-oriented class. It is very slow. There's also no sort of range attacks, so in some instances you kind of screwed. Majority of the time you'll be jumping and trying your hardest to hit an annoying flying mob. And to top it all off, it doesn't have any secondary skills. This is arguably the most hated class in the game and also one of the funnest. But I think when they designed Warrior, they failed to do it justice. Maybe they should have gave him some unique core skills that improve the speed or something, or just have gave him secondary skills. Now it's time to move on to the second advanced vocation, called Ranger. Rangers no longer use the bow that Striders use, and instead use the longer range longbow, gaining them access to OP high damage ranged attacks. With the right setup, you can one-shot almost anything with relative ease. Sorcerers, which is, in my opinion, a huge upgrade from Mage. You get a arc stave, I think that's how you say it, that casts devastation onto the field. People who main this class need to seek a mental health counselor, because what has the world done to you for you to unleash such chaos and despair upon this world? Moving on to hybrid vocations, and man oh man are they fun as hell to play. They are the last tier of the 9 vocations, and they combine aspects of 2 of the 3 vocations. The first one being Mystic Knight, which is also my favorite class, that I even beat the game with. This is an extremely versatile class. You have access to swords just like the fighter, but you get different shields. Fighter shields are more rounder, Mystic Knight shields are more rectangular. Mystic Knight also gain access to the mage abilities, also gaining his staff, but it's more so a convenience that I don't use. Now, Mystic Knight abilities are ridiculously OP. He can place down this sigil thing and nothing can come in that area without getting zapped. It has really good knockback. But if you combine this with his ability called Great Cannon, which allows you to shoot energy beams at enemies from a safe distance, and if you combine this with another ability called Full Moon Slash, the energy beams come out faster, destroying opponents and making you feel like a true god. And this isn't even all his OP abilities. We still haven't got to his shield powers. Introducing Blessed Trance, which is the biggest lifesaver ever for anything that looks like a demon, especially late game, because that's all you see. It enchants your sword and allies around you with holy magic, which is much needed because anything that looks like this needs to go find God. Or if you want to turn to the dark side, then I got an ability for you called Abysmal Anguish. I mean, it just sounds evil. But essentially you enchant your sword with dark magic and it extends your sword so you can hit longer range. And you can also whoop ass with this for 90 seconds. So you can kind of take your time. Then he also has shield enchants. When you get a perfect block, you'll get an animation based on a corresponding shield enchantment that you placed on the shield. Enchanted with ice magic, you get this cool freeze animation. Or you can enchant it with thunder magic and bring out this really cool Thor animation. Yeah, no, I was just kidding. It still looks cool though. All in all, the Mystic Knight is an amazing class and I 100% think you should play it. I heard you a Bleach fan. And by any chance, have you ever wanted to be a Quincy? Introducing Mystic Archer. combining the power of the mage and strider, which allowing them to equip both daggers and staves as their primary weapon, but for their second option, they have exclusive access to magical bows. Now let's go over their abilities, shall we? I'm not the strongest magic archer though, so the abilities won't be at their strongest. First up, Ricochet Hunter. To my knowledge, this ability is very good in hallway-like spaces, very good for low-level mobs. But apparently I heard it's one of the strongest abilities in the game. But I think I'm using it wrong because I am watching other videos of other people using it and holy shit, this thing is strong. Why is mine so weak? Well, hopefully veterans in the comments, well, if this video get any views, which I highly doubt it. But anyways, this moves me on to the next ability called Six-Fold Bolt. And it is really overpowered as well. You shoot like 6 damn near homing missiles towards the enemy and it annihilates them. For those who like chaos, introducing Explosive Rivet. It's an ability where you shoot explosive arrows, but in order for them to detonate, you have to use a physical attack, which does lingering burn damage. Now, but really amplifies Magic Archer. It has a really good enchantment called Magic Rebalancer. It's a skill they get from their dagger, in which it causes your magic powers and defense to be increased. You can also stack it 4 times. You guys get what I meant anyways. Do you want others to fold to your will? Well, Mystic Archer has a spell for you called Shadow Shackle. Have your foes beg for mercy whilst they are bound to the darkest magic. And the only way to break free if they can sing the Velma theme song word for word. Last but not least, we have the Assassin. This is every Enzo fan pipe dream. You get access to fighter and strider abilities. They have access to most weapons. They can use bows, daggers, swords, and shields. But where the Assassin shines is in nighttime. The Assassin also has a lot of fun abilities, such as Dire Gorge. It's when you climb on top of an enemy and absolutely decimate them. Do you want to be like Zoro, wielding 3 swords and have a demon aura coming from your body? Well, okay, this next ability isn't that cool, but it's definitely up there. It's called Clairvoyance. It's a counterattack with the sword, and damn, it's beautiful to look at. For this next ability, I'm going to have to make up a scenario. So imagine you have a bully, and every time you get off the bus, he sees you and chases after you. Well, lucky for you, that bully won't live to see another day because you have the most useful ability called Powder Blast. Seemingly, before the bully came, you put gunpowder on the ground. As soon as he crossed it, he was blown away further than Team Rocket. And now we are done with the, let's say, more popular vocation abilities. There's way more abilities to use, but I just wanted to list the ones that I would most likely use and what other people are most likely using. Now, but this precedes us to the most unique system in gaming history, and it's called pawns. Pawns are like your best friends. They play catch with you, they check on you, they even will die for you. Pawns were introduced to you in the first part of the game. Once you reach a certain area, you get access to your main pawn, in which the game gives you an option to customize them. But you can only do this with one pawn, and that's your pawn that you customize. You can also choose 2 other pawns which can be accessed through the rift. These pawns that you hire are pawns from other players. I could be wrong though. I'm like 67% sure, but I think these are abandoned pawns from people that no longer play the game. Before hiring these pawns, it is possible to review their stats, skills, inclinations, which we'll get to later, and beastery, quest, and travel knowledge as well. Also, if you really like a pawn, you can add them to your favorites, which allows you to always see them in the rift. You have higher odds of seeing them traversing the city as well. Now onward to your main pawn. You can in a way change how your pawn acts and speaks once you find what we call the knowledge chair. In this, you can set their battle tactics, like should they aim for the weakest minions first or have them target the strongest foe first. You can even change their speech rate. Do you want them to be talkative or more quiet when the situation demands? How do you want them to celebrate their victories? Do you want them to be confident, meek, arrogant, like your favorites in either, or just plain old ordinary? Now, moving on to the open world aspect, which I probably should have talked about this earlier. But to be honest, the open world is basic. You have a few castles, a couple dungeons, they're probably a little bit more. But to be honest, the gameplay is so good, you don't care about the story. And as long as the open world is decent, the combat carries really hard. I mean, you got Grand Soren, which is a huge town. So I'm not going to lie. They have this one person, and this merchant, all he says is, Masterworks all, you can't go wrong. So this merchant single-handedly makes Grand Soren the best assigned city in gaming history. It's hard to give an accurate critique because I didn't really care about the open world. I just wanted to fight anything I see, and I'm pretty sure that's most of the people that played this game anyway. The only area I paid attention to is Bitter Black Isle, which leads us to the endgame action. Well, technically, you can go to Bitter Black as a low level, but it's supposed to be endgame. It's a well-designed dungeon. They have a ton of new different mobs, but this time the difficulty is increased by lots, and I mean a lot. You have to develop a strategy, and also you have to carry a lot of curatives. I recommend not going to Bitter Black until you are like at least level 70. Some people do it in their 40s, which they're very much giga chags for this. But if this is your very first playthrough, level 70 is a safe bet. And also farm Everfall, which is also in-game content to where you can get wake stones, which can revive you from the dead. And trust me, they come in handy when you're fighting the final boss, or the second form of the final boss. There's also a dragon called the Your Dragon, which he drops good loot, but personally I never defeated him. I just went straight to Black Isle. Once I beat the game and entered New Game Plus, which is essentially going to hard mode, the game will start you to the start of the story. But you get to keep everything from your previous playthrough, and on hard mode you get the added bonus of increased XP and gold. This video is getting a little too long for my liking, so I hope I covered all your worries. Probably missed out on some things, but maybe some people can point out in the comments. But that's if this video get any views, which I highly doubt.